edition. We're live from Manu Sub at Adesawe Kanda, also live on Kesmi 107.1 in Tamale and beyond. We're live on W93.5 in Wa and beyond. I am Alfred Ocansey. This evening here on Hot Edition, New Patriotic Party touts economic achievement, insisting it surpasses NDC's record. I'll bring you details of that press conference by Richard Dahiagba, Director of Communications of the MPP. Campaign activities gather momentum with just 24 days more to December 7 general elections. This evening, we'll tell you why the Ashanti region has become a hotbed for political activity and campaigning by leading contenders in this year's presidential election. Also, the Chamber of Petroleum Consumers, COPEC, expresses concerns over reported fuel shortage across fuel stations in the capital city. We have details of this for you here on Hot Edition on 3FM 92.7 plus campaign trail here on your election command center. We have the latest in business, sports and entertainment coming up for the next 1 hour 30 minutes here on Hot Edition on 3FM 92.7. We're very, very interactive. And share your thoughts with us, views, comments and opinions on 3FM 927 on Facebook and also on X. Read out to you and to the rest of the world. Let's get into a summary of the news now. And Sarfoa is here. Sarfoa.
Thank you, Alfred, and welcome to the news summary segment. Let's get to the details now. An in-hall clashes erupted at the Volta Ghana Private Road Transport Union GPRT office as the National Executive Council attempted to remove former executives who have refused to step down 2 years after losing an election. Police intervened to calm the situation, and talks are now underway with the Volta Regional Police Commander to resolve the dispute. Also, retired Supreme Court Justice William Atuguba has warned that Speaker of Parliament Alban Bagbin must comply with the Supreme Court's ruling on the vacant seats case, or he risks up to 10 years in jail and disqualification from public office. I beg your pardon. This follows a 5-2 Supreme Court decision upholding a suit by Alexander Apenyomakin, which overturned Bagbin's ruling that granted the NDC majority status in Parliament. Also, with 24 days to the December 7 polls, the NPP is challenging NDC flag bearer John Mahama to debate Dr. Mahmoud Baumia on the economy. NPP Communications Director Richard Dahiagba touted the party's economic policies as superior while criticizing the NDC's 24-hour economy plan as a fraudulent and misleading initiative that fails to address Ghana's real economic issues. And also, in a lively debate at Nat Hall in Bogatanga, parliamentary candidates for Bogatanga Central, including incumbent MP Isaac Adongo, MPs Elvis Atiafigo Awunekai and PNC's Peter Akulebe, presented their visions to constituents. The event, organized by the National Commission for Civic Education (NCCEA) in partnership with Rise Ghana, aimed to promote sustainable civic engagement and monitor party manifestos beyond elections. And now to our last story at the Conference of Parties COP29 summit in Azerbaijan, President Nana Addo Akufo-Addo urged world leaders to move from dialogue to concrete action on climate change. Speaking at the World Climate Leaders Summit, he emphasized the urgent need for collective efforts to protect vulnerable populations and future generations from escalating climate impact. And that brings us to the end of our news summary segment. And over to you, Alfred.
Sarfoa, thank you. This morning is on 3news.com. Make some time and visit 3news.com. This is Hot Edition on 3FM 92.7. Remember, we're live on Kesmi 107.1 in Tamale and beyond, and also on W93.5 in Wa and beyond. We're barely 24 days to the December 7 polls. The New Patriotic Party mounting a fresh offensive, urging the NDC, the flag bearer John Dramani Mahama, to rise to the challenge and debate NPP's own Dr. Mahmoud Baumia on the economy. At a just ended media engagement, the NPP Director of Communications Richard Dahiagba declared the NPP's economic policies as unmatched, touting them as superior, potent and ripe with opportunities to steer Ghana's economy towards sustainable growth in the next 4 years. Let's take a listen to exactly what Richard Ahiagba said, and then we'll have an engagement on some of the issues as pointed out here on Hot Edition on 3FM 92.7. Remember, we're also live on Kesmi 107.1 in Tamale and beyond, on W 93.5 in Wa and beyond.
Has not been able to offer any convincing explanation for the so-called 24-hour economy. What the NDC is doing, ladies and gentlemen, with the silence, has not been able to offer any convincing explanation for the so-called 24-hour economy. What the NDC is doing, ladies and gentlemen, with the silence and the obfuscation from answering or the avoidance of questioning on the 24-hour economy is akin to naming a female child Kwame and deflecting or avoiding to answer whether that is the appropriate name for a girl child born on Saturday. They say it's Kwame, and you can't have them. You can't get them to say, no, it's right or wrong. They just say it's Kwame. And if you like Kwame, you just take it that Kwame is the name. But you and I know that a girl born on Saturday is not Kwame. And what we must do is to get the NDC to tell us exactly what they mean by 24-hour economy or what they mean by Kwame. They tell us if they've changed the naming system in Ghana, that a female child is Kwame and a male child is Ama. They must tell us. But the point we are now is that they are avoiding any questions, but they are putting forward something that is wrong, something we know is not right, and calling it the name that we know is not right, and they are just pretending that it is okay. And just simply because it sounds good, if you are not careful, you'll go and vote thinking that 24-hour economy means anything. If you're a young person, you think that that brings you any opportunity. It doesn't. It has nothing absolutely to offer. And as you will see here, the 24-hour economy is an incidental policy. It's not a primary policy. It's not a policy you implement to result in something. You implement a certain economic policy that results in the ability to leverage a 24-hour economy. That is the fraud in the 24-hour economy that we must inform our readers. The truth is, as I just finished talking about, is that the 24-hour economy piggybacks on a high-performing economy. It piggybacks on the economy, if you like, the daytime economy. Without a performing economy, you can't do 24-hour economy. Imagine the NDC convincing me in my village in Aplawu that you will be able to do 24-hour economy. By 8, by 9, the people are retired to bed. I mean, imagine your own village, even in Accra. Imagine what area in Accra that the NDC said it will stimulate 24-hour economy. With what? And I'll show you a similar conversation that is going on in London right now in their discussions to see if they can implement a 24-hour economy. So it's a complete fraud that the NDC is perpetrating in this election to deceive unsuspecting voters that they have something extraordinary to offer, but they don't. And I made a point to someone last time that, look, never mind that you have some challenges or have concerns with the economy. What you don't want to do is to cast a vote that would worsen the situation. Because if the NDC doesn't have a solution, and what they are promoting as a solution is not a solution, if you buy that, you'll probably end up worsening your situation. As though you are sick, if you go about taking everybody's prescription without them knowing or telling you that that prescription is specific to your disease or ailment, you will end up probably taking poison. And that's what the NDC is offering and setting us all up for by refusing to give us a clear-cut explanation of what their 24-hour economy is and how they're going to implement it.
That's Richard Ahiagba, is the National Communications Officer of the NPP. He went further to criticize the NDC's the position by John Dramani Mahama and not to debate Dr. Mahmoud Bawumia, that's a flag bearer of the NPP, indicating that he, together with the NPP, are ready for the debate if John Mahama so agrees.
London, after many years, with its economy 520 billion pounds sterling, is now debating 24-hour economy. So if anybody comes and tells us that they are going to do 24-hour economy in Ghana, you know clearly and simply that they are deceptive, they are lying to us, and that is why they don't want to explain it. That 24-hour economy builds on existing capacities or the performance of the daytime economy. In other words, it is misleading and perhaps incompetent for the NDC to tie its fiscal policy to a 24-hour economy when the pressing question is how we boost the daytime economy. Ladies and gentlemen, the above shows the NDC's promotion of 24-hour economy is a hoax. The 24-hour policy is mainly city-based, as I've told you, and is designed to take advantage of a city's nightlife opportunities.
Well, that's Richard Ahiangba there. Let's stay a bit further on this matter. Professor John Gachi is the Dean of the University of Cape Coast Business School, and then also Dr. George Domfe is a development economist and also with the University of Ghana, Legon. Gentlemen, good evening. Thank you for joining us here on Hot Edition.
Good evening,
Thank you.
Alfred.
All is well, and thank you as well for joining us, gentlemen. First off, and I'll start off with you, really, Dr. George Domfe. Do you align with that position that indeed, as espoused by Richard Ahiangba, that so far there hasn't been clarity on the 24-hour economy? That's according to Richard Ahiangba, and that it is really not offering any solution to the unemployment situation that we're faced with as a country?
Yeah, let me thank you very much and say very good evening to you, to the listeners and also viewers as well. I will say yes and no. In Ghana, the biggest issue on our table today is how to address the mass unemployment. It is getting worse each day. When I say that, I'm using the broad measure of unemployment. You know, historically we've been using an ILO measure of unemployment. And if you look at that data, you realize that the year 2016 unemployment rate was 5.2, and at the end of 2003 it has declined to 3.08 or 3.1 if you want to do the conversion. Yeah, but my worry with the narrow measure of unemployment is because it does not account. You know, we have so many people in this country who are at the moment not working. Yeah, but then if you go to ask them, are you actively chasing jobs? They say no. You know why? Our economy is hugely informal. And we don't write applications. We don't move from offices to another office. And so if you use the ILO definition of narrow, measure of or what we call official rate of unemployment, we appear to be doing better. But realistically, that's not what is happening, because if you look at our current unemployment rate, that is lower than it is in the advanced countries in Europe and other places. You don't sit here and think that all is well with you. So we need to get more people into work. And I'm telling you that it saddens me when sometimes I move around and meet students I taught 15 years ago, 13 years ago, and they are still moving around looking for jobs. So we need to get more people into production. And so when NDC says that 24-hour economy technically is going to open up the space for more people to be employed, then I go for that particular policy, for a reason that it can open up the space for more people to get employed. But I ask myself, how realistic is this? That is where maybe I will agree with my brother. I have also tried to re-add it. I said that I have tried it. Kenya wanted to try it some time ago. It didn't work in Africa. Nobody has tried it. My understanding about 24-hour economy is that it is not a demand, it is more of a demand-driven. That's what I will call it. It's not a supply-driven policy. For example, CSHS, it is a supply-driven policy. And so if government says that I'm going to implement free senior high school, educational policy, what they need to do is to get money to pay, and so right away the policy works. But in this case, government is going to open up that enabling environment. I don't even know whether it is there and it's not enabling for people to work. And so, for example, if you tell me that we're going to reduce electricity tariffs during night, so that people will be attracted to go to Makola, open up their shop to sell, you have not asked me, what data is saying that if people do that, if you reduce tariffs, people will go and spend nights to open up their shops. And when they do, who is going there in the night? Because we live in a country where security is a problem. Street lights are not even available. And so one will push George Novr to take 1 million Ghana cedis, put it in Manka boot, go to Makola around 2 a.m. to go and shop. I think that is where the problem is. Because the whole thing is not supply driven. And so government doesn't have control over 24-hour economy. It's like government is going to show the way for the people to follow. What about if they don't follow? So if you reduce the tariffs and people don't work at night, what becomes of the 24-hour economy? So that is where the problem is. And again, if you look at countries that where we have been moving around the world, and I've visited quite a number of countries. Most of these countries, if you go there, factory workers, they work all 24-hour around. They don't rest. You go there in the morning, in the afternoon, somebody comes to take over. In the evening, another person comes. That's what is happening. Over there. But in this part of our world, we don't even have such factories. The factories are not there. And so you may initiate it. Even if the factories are there, do they have the demand? Because I do know if you go to the villages, drawing Christmas dressmakers, they don't sleep. They work 24 hours because there is a demand. But what about if there is no demand? And so this is where I have a problem with that policy. And the clarity of it is still not clear to me. I have tried to read around the whole thing, and I see that it is a 24-hour economy. It's not a deliberate policy. It is a developmental. It is always driven by the development, the level of development of the country. And so as a country, as we move on, and now people are started building factories, and the manufacturing sector is now, coming into the picture. Why we have so many factories and Dr.
Novr, I get the point. You see, I get the point that you have been able to outline the benefits. What I get from what you're saying is a challenge for you is the practicality, you say, to the extent that there would be supply but not very well defined demand. But how is it the case that in other jurisdictions, as you have just make reference to, the 24-hour economy is not novel globally? It is happening in other countries. So why is it the case that Ghana, as you put it in context, it cannot happen here in the progressive manner that the NDC has presented it? You talk about security. In the document, I don't know what document you're reading, but then they've provided some document as well that for security, they're going to also provide some additional security personnel for specific areas where the 24-hour economy will be taking place. Have you seen that?
Yeah, I've seen that. I've read about all that.
Okay, I'm asking because you raised a matter of security. So if you've seen that, then that question is answered, is it not?
Countries that where 24-hour economy is really doing well. China, can talk about China, the biggest manufacturing country today in the world. And before I talk about China, I want to take us back to 1980s when China was one of the poorest countries in the world. And the total GDP of China for a population of over 900 million hovered around 190 billion US dollars. Today, Chinese economy, the GDP is about $18.6 trillion. And it makes it the second largest economy. Not only that, the leading manufacturing country in the world. So now China has become preferred destination where not only Africans, but Europe and other places. That's where people go there to buy the manufactured, products. And so people go there, the demand is there. And so the factories in China, they produce all year round, or every second they are producing because the demand is there. And that's why I'm saying that it's more demand driven. So when the demand is there, nobody will tell you go and do it. But you can't force demand.
Okay. Well, hold on a bit for me. And this is why I bring Professor John Gachi, because Professor Gachi, that specific question about the supply meeting defined, identified demand is it one that has been answered in this 24-hour economy policy as has been promulgated by the NDC?
Well, thank you very much. I think anybody who is objective about as proposed by the NDC is focused on.
Hello, Prof. Hello, Prof. Hello, Prof. Can you hear me? We'll try to raise Professor John Gachi back on the telephone and get through to him again to make a point that he was espousing there shortly here on Hot Edition on 3FM 92.7. We're also live on Kesmi 107.1 in Tamale and beyond. We're live on W 93.5 in Wa and beyond. Professor John Gachi is the Dean of the University of Cape Coast Business School. I have Dr. John Novr, is a development economist, and also has been looking into this quite closely and how things are playing out. And before I get back to Professor John Gachi, Dr. John Novr, that point you made about the what is happening in other jurisdictions as well. If you look at the document that you say that you have seen some documentation on the 24-hour economy, it is not going to be a wholesale one. There are specific industries that have been targeted. I'll come back to you on that. But Professor Gachi, you were making a point before I lost you.
Yeah, as any objective person that reads around 24-hour economy will realize that the discussion is about enhancing production, enhancing the capacity of the economy, and for that matter, the businesses in the country. It is all about ensuring that we get to a point that we can enhance sound jobs for our people. So these are the three pillars on which 24-hour economy stands. Demand is abundantly available for 24-hour economy takeoff. There are other auxiliary issues regarding security. Security itself is a job, but now security is going to be provided meeting increased demand for security from enhancement of businesses as the case will be. So unlike we are just looking at UN benchmark for security to the population, but now security enhancement will be related to the enhancement of business activities in the country. So let me summarize again. When we are talking about 24-hour economy, we just want to bring about increased productivity. We want to scale up capacity, and we want to enhance contribution to growth, and we want to enhance contribution to revenue generation and contribution to job creation in the country. These are the things. I do understand that this policy is a political campaign policy, and the policy has been doing very well for the NDC. It has drawn the attention of TUC, it has drawn the attention of AGI, it has drawn attention from GUTA and other business units within the country. Therefore, I'm not surprised that people are setting their own questions, saying that it will not work, it will not work. The policy is accepted. There is fine-tuning of the policy for implementation. That will happen when the NDC wins power, and we are expecting to see how it will be rolled out to enhance the economy, to enhance the productive spirit of the economy. That is what we are expecting.
Now, for what you do know, is this a wholesale implementation or a wholesale policy across sectors, or is it targeting specific sectors of the economy?
This is not like free SHS that you do wholesale. I overheard the gentleman that you talked to first that in some countries it is cities. Yes, it is cities. So how many cities do we have in the country? We have so many cities, and we have some of the cities which are not the regional capitals. They are basking in economic activities. We need to prop up production, expansion activities in all those areas So it is not like you are looking at 24-hour economy, looking at your village. That is a wrong approach. You cannot defeat TUC with that approach.
I see. Now, Dr. Jodofe, so you raised specific questions. Have they been answered?
Yeah, so that's why I initially said that anything that would boost production to create jobs for the people, I work. And so, technically, I don't have any problem with
but you hear Richard Ahiagba saying that the 24-hour economy is an empty one. It has nothing to offer when it comes to job creation for the youth.
Hello, please let me. Can I continue?
Yes.
Yeah. So what the point I'm trying to say is that I don't have anything against a policy that will bring jobs. I really, as I initially said, one of the biggest problems facing us today as a country is how to create jobs for the teeming youth unemployed. It is a big problem. And so I then asked, how is this going to be the game changer? And let me help Professor Amigachi. I just analyzed the data.
You can't help me. Just make your point.
I was on the field to collect data about the elections. And one thing that came to clear was that the most popular slogan or policy that has caught up with the people today is 24-hour economy. So you ask them what have they heard from MPP and MDC, and even MPP people, they'll tell you that they know 24-hour economy. But just making it very popular and everybody accepting it does not mean that it is feasible. The feasibility of it is where I have a challenge. Because as a country, they say they are going to provide additional security. Yeah, but the question I put, if you reduce electricity tariffs for somebody somewhere at Makola to open a shop, and I'm at Adenta, and so around 2 a.m., what is going to motivate me to put money in my bag, drive all the way to Makola to go and buy? Because you have reduced the tariffs, that person is going to be attracted to go to work. And even that, do they have a data to suggest that when electricity tariffs go down, it will attract people to go and work during night? That's another thing. And so even that place, there is a problem there. And then when the people are even attracted to go to work, whatever that they do, is it going to enjoy patronage, the necessary patronage to keep their businesses afloat? Is it going to happen? That's also another question we need to know. And so as far as I'm concerned, as I told you, I have followed China, I have followed many developed countries, where if you go there, 24-hour economy is more or less working. But it didn't work. It started from somewhere, as I said, and it wasn't a deliberate policy of the government. And so it was deepening the industrialization. Most of these countries that this thing has worked, it started with the manufacturing, subsector of the industrial sector. And so think that you build more factories, and then when the factories are able to break into international markets and they have the demand, they will be working to produce all year and all minute around. And that's when we're going to see this, 24-hour economy, working. But for it to be a deliberate policy of a government, I'm yet to see a country that has made it a deliberate policy and it worked. I have read through the literature, I'm yet to see just one. What I do know is that it comes with development. As you deepen the manufacturing sector of your economy, especially, and you are able to break into the international market to get a demand, you want to work all year round.
I see. Well, Professor Johnson, so he's questioning why this would be a deliberate policy by a government, really.
Well, in fact, I would say it's the deliberate, intentional, and first time that this global policy framework have been pronounced in the Ghanaian economic architecture. This is the first time. Of course, it's not new to the global economy. This is the first time intentional policy to enhance productivity of the country during the day, during the night, enhance the capacity of businesses during the day, during the night, to ensure that demand is met which is abundant in terms of export, abundant in terms of consumption in the country. This is the first time that we are seeing a policy that will galvanize production around the clock to ensure that employment opportunities are created and made available to people to take advantage of. In fact, I am waiting for the 24-hour economy to be implemented because all the trading blocks in the country have bought into the 24-hour economy. They are expectant. I think that we cannot deny them of that. In terms of politics, to ask my colleague in the studio, I don't know either he's on the studio or on the line.
He is on the telephone.
Okay, I said, in fact, it's making inroads into the heart of Ghanaians, and Ghanaians are talking about the policy. In fact, had it not been so, I think Richard Anyagba would not be making such comment about the 24-hour economy. So I think those people who are brought in the 24-hour economy should continue to steadily propagate it. If you understand, you will understand. It is all about productivity.
Okay.
It is all about scaling up capacity. It's all about generating more income, revenue conduit for the country. It's all about contributing to growth. It's all about generating employment. It's all about making the entire economy efficient.
Right.
That is the 24-hour economy.
Professor John Gachi, appreciate your time on this. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
It's the Dean of the University of Cape Coast Business School. Also to you, Dr. George Donfer is a development economist at the University of Ghana. Thank you so much as well for joining us here on Hot Edition. But let's look at this. What's the NPP saying it will do to improve on your living conditions when it comes to the economy and job creation? Dennis Boberi Wadam Esquire is here. What have we found in the manifesto?
Well, it does appear that this election is going to be decided by the economy.
Indeed.
Because every now and then we hear conversations about the economy, the NDC 24-hour economy under attack, the MPP also coming in strongly with some policies they say they are going to use to stimulate the economy. But let's look at what they promised in their manifesto. First off, they are promising to accelerate economic growth to achieve and sustain an average of 6% growth. Mind you, we are doing, I think IMF projected a 3% growth by end of year. It has recently been reviewed to 4%. And now the MPP is promising that when they come into power, they are looking at doing 6% growth. They're also looking at expanding agriculture and to develop the mining sector with a mineral development bank. Details of these things we'll discuss extensively on Ghana tonight. But for the purpose of this discussion, these are just the pointers of what the NPP say they would do when they come into power. They want to promote the One District, One Factory initiative and support emerging industries. Remember, this has been a running initiative that the government is on. They're looking for tax incentives for some of these factories as we speak. They also want to enhance a digital hub, digital services and sports, tourism and creative arts. All these, they think, when they come into play, they would play a part in enhancing the economy. They also want to increase public-private partnership for public infrastructure projects. You hear the Vice President talking about partnering with the private sector to construct roads and other social amenities. This also comes in part of, as part of this particular policy. They also want to establish an independent Fiscal Responsibility Council for fiscal policy oversight. They also want to amend the Fiscal Responsibility Act to limit expenditure to 105% of the previous year's tax revenue. In simple terms, they do not want a tax, a budget deficit of more than minus 5%. They also want to reform the VAT regime by merging all levies into a single line item. Anytime this issue comes up, this is what we talk about the MPP wanting to undo what they have done by themselves. Because when you look at this VAT component that we have now, once upon a time it was a compact. It was like calculated together.
True.
But the MPP, as part of their initiatives, decided to decouple, now passing on a lot of burden onto the consumers. They say when they come, that will be undone.
And in fact, this particular policy has impacted a lot of, for instance, businesses like the car dealers, people who sell cars at the car ports and so on. Because of that, the prices of cars in this country, second-hand vehicles, those that have been imported, are so high that people cannot buy vehicles.
Alfred, it affects me and you, even when we go shopping. Now, the amount we used to pay under the previous VAT regime is quite different from what we pay now, because now it is a bit more expensive.
Indeed.
But the promise now is that when they come back into power in 2025, things would not be the same. We are going to go back to where we were before they made the changes. So that's why I say they want to undo their own doing. They also want to reduce withholding tax for small-scale gold export to 1% to discourage smuggling. They want to abolish betting tax, yet another thing that they have done that they want to undo. Betting tax was non-existent. They introduced it. They say they will take it off again. It continues to say that they want to incentivize Ghanaian startups with investment tax credits for the first 3 years. They also want to digitize tax administration to improve efficiency and ease of filing. They want to implement a flat rate for importers to stabilize prices. And this is where the importers at the Ghana Association of Importers also come in strongly here, trying to understand the full complement of this policy, because in their view, I mean, it's one of the key things that really affect them.
That's
and
right.
also affects the prices of goods that we consume in this country, especially the imported goods. They also want to harmonize port charges to align with competing regional ports, and also to broaden the tax base by leveraging digitalization to capture more eligible taxpayers. So this is just a broad framework of the promises that the MPP is making by way of economy. I mean, by way of the details and the specifics. When we get onto Ghana tonight, we will flesh out all those things.
Certainly. It's going to be live on 3FM and TV3 at 10 p.m. Dennis Babay Wadam Esquire, thank you. Thank you so much. So live here on Hot Edition on 3FM 92.7. Away from that, President Akrofi says Ghana remains committed to its Paris climate goals. President Akrofi noted that Ghana, under the Green Ghana project, has planted some 50 million trees to tackle the effects of climate change. He was addressing the ongoing United Nations Climate Change Conference currently taking place in Baku, the capital of Azerbaijan. This is President Akrofi earlier today.
In 2021, Ghana submitted updated nationally determined contributions to the United Nations, encompassing 47 programs to mitigate and adapt to climate impacts. Our goal is to cut emissions by 64 million metric tons by 2030, demanding investments between 10 and 15 billion United States dollars. Despite financial and technical hurdles, we're determined to meet the Paris Agreement's goals across agriculture, transport, forestry, energy, and other sectors. We have made strides. The Green Ghana project has planted 50 million trees, and forest restoration efforts have covered 721,000 hectares since 2017 when I came to office. 13 mitigation actions have cut annual greenhouse gas emissions by 43% since 2021. Ghana's national electric vehicle policy, backed by tax incentives, promotes sustainable mobility, and our energy transition framework steers us towards a green future. Through Article 6 of the Paris Agreement, Ghana has mobilized 800 million United States dollars by trading carbon credits with nations like Switzerland and Sweden. However, we cannot reach our climate goals alone. We call on our global partners to honor their commitments, ensuring accessible concessional financing for sustainable development in Africa without unsustainable debt. As a father and a grandfather, I question what we will leave behind. What world will we leave behind? Our children's future hinges on our decision.
Well, that's President Akrofi there talking about our current decisions impacting on the future of our children, essentially saying our children's future hinges on the current decisions that we make. Asamoah is the National Coordinator of Eco-Conscious Citizens, one of the foremost environmental NGOs we have in this country. Asamoah, thank you for joining us here on Hot Edition. Now, on that last statement that the President said, that the future of our children hinges on current decisions that we're making today, how does the future look like if this particular statement is anything to go by, per the impact on the environment, the decisions we're making now?
Good evening. Thank you very much for having me. I'm very astonished. If we are concerned about our grandchildren, then we wouldn't be declassifying Achimota Forest which is the last remaining forest reserve in Accra, the lungs of Accra. If we are at all concerned about our grandchildren, we wouldn't have seen to the passing of LI 2462, which allows for mining in forest reserves, including globally significant biodiversity areas. If we were concerned about the future of our grandchildren, we wouldn't be looking idly by whilst our forest reserves are being destroyed by illegal miners, and while even those with mining licenses, such as Apunta mining, are going outside the parameters of their license. So it's quite clear that we have no regard whatsoever for the environment, and we have no regard for the livelihood of our grandchildren. So I'm just very astonished at what the president is saying.
But even beyond this, he makes mention of some 50 million trees planted under the Green Ghana initiative that his government started. And really, is there a true reflection of this on the ground? That's one aspect of it.
You see, the facts speak for themselves. First of all, he's talking about what has been planted. He didn't say how many have survived. And then you have to look at what has supposedly been planting vis-a-vis the situation we face. If you're busy destroying your forest reserve, for example, half of the Akrofi forest is gone. You're busy destroying your forest cover, and then you claim to plant 50 million trees. We don't know how many of them have survived. What does that mean? We can all bandy figures around, but what is on the ground is what is essential. And what we can see on the ground is a dire situation. We've lost a lot of our forest cover, and the devastation continues.
I see. Now, on that bit as well, if you take into consideration the level of devastation that's been dealt on our forest cover, so would you have expected that on this global platform, that matter of Galamsey at least is brought to the fore? And I know that some CSOs are attending this conference as well, and the fact that there was really silence on the part of the president on the matter of illegal mining and its evidential impact on our water bodies and forest cover.
Well, he'll be silent because there's been no commitment to stop illegal mining. We have asked for a pause on community mining because in many cases it doubles up as illegal mining. I mean, today the Atronso 5 were granted court bail. These are activists who are trying to protect their landscape from devastation and trying to stop the poisoning of the Atronso stream. They rather were arrested by the police. They rather were denied police bail and rushed to court and remanded in custody. Thank God they are being given bail today. So what I'm saying is that in many cases, the firefighters are seen as the arsonists, or at least being complicit or turning a blind eye. So it's not surprising the president can't talk about it because the record is poor. We face an existential threat. As I have rightly said, our forest reserves are being designated, and we are adding to it by EI 144 and LI 2462. As I speak, we're still issuing licenses to mine in forest reserves. We refuse to put a pause on community mining. So how can he talk about something which is ongoing? We face an existential threat, and absolutely no serious fight is taking place. So of course he'll be silent on it.
And the sad development with what's happening even in Parliament now is that the LI 2462 is still on our books, even though there was that commitment, based on a document.
I'm not sure with respect that there was any commitment, because when the three parliamentarians started a private members' bill, it was precisely because there was no action. According to the information we had, nothing had been laid before Parliament. So I'm very disappointed that organized labor didn't wait to ensure that certain steps had been taken before calling off the strike. Had they stuck to their guns, had they held on, we would probably have had LI 2462 revoked. But then they quickly called off the strike and no action was taken. So, I mean, the situation we find ourselves in is still there. And I have to say that all the political parties, apart from Alan Chemanten, who has a 10-point plan and who talks about pausing community mining or banning it for a certain period of time, I don't see any seriousness in addressing the issue. I'm not quite sure that we actually understand that we face an existential threat. We are being poisoned. Ghana water cannot remove or does not remove mercury from our drinking water. So even when water looks transparent, it does not mean it's free of mercury. and yet we are not angry enough to demand that something is done about it.
We saw the heightened campaign against illegal mining, at least over the last 2-3 months. It died out a bit because of what was happening.
With organized labor bailing out, and UTAG, being a democratic institution, they had their elections, and apart from Legon and a few others, most voted to go back to work. But it's not too late. If Ghanaians want to survive, we really need to sit up and ensure that the government does what we've asked them to do. Declare a state of emergency, go to the forest reserves and water bodies, remove all miners and mining equipment, revoke LI 2462 and EI 144, and pause community mining, because most of the time it doubles up as illegal mining. And all those who were mentioned in Professor Pimpon Boateng's report have to be investigated and prosecuted, just as innocent environmentalists are being prosecuted. And we need to ensure that the polluter pays. So all the assets that have been made from illegal mining should be used towards the reclamation of our devastated landscape.
I will appreciate your time. Thank you so much.
Thank you for having me.
Asamoah is the National Coordinator of Eco-Conscious Citizens, one of the foremost CSOs in the environmental space in this country. So live here on Hot Edition. And before we go for the business news, the new Patriotic Party Member of Parliament for the Adansia Squad constituency and Trades Minister Kobna Tahir Hammond has filed a criminal complaint against the NDC MP for Ketu North, Dr. James Kluchi-Aveji. Katie Hammond, in his complaint to the police, alleges that he has been assaulted by the chairman of the Public Accounts Committee. A video has gone viral following the indefinite adjournment of Parliament last week, where some NDC MPs, including Dr. Aveji, are seen haggling with the Trades Minister. Katie Hammond, who has since gotten a police medical form to be examined at the hospital, says he will pursue his complaints to its logical conclusion. This is exactly what happened on that day. If you go on our Facebook page at 3FM927, the video, and that's what the MP for the Adansia and Trades Minister Katie Hammond is dwelling on and filing a criminal complaint against the NDC MP for Ketu North, Dr. James Kluchi-Aveji. Stay with us here on Hot Edition on 3FM 92.7. We're back with the business news, the sports news after this break.
Thank you very much for your invaluable service to this great company, and we wish you well on your retirement. Cheers.
Thank you.
Happy retirement, Lay.
Thank you very much.
So are you staying or you are going back to Ghana?
I'm going back home, of course.
Wow. You really built?
I've got a home at Lakeside Estate.
Really?
Lakeside Hills is a dream come true, a community designed for all stages of life. Whether you're a growing family needing more space, a young professional looking for convenience, or someone seeking a peaceful retirement, Lakeside Hills has it all. With 2, 3, and 4 bedroom homes, there's something for everyone.
That's impressive. Exactly what I'm looking for. I have to start saving towards this.
See you back home.
Lakeside Hills, it's not just a place to live, it's a place to thrive.
The most comprehensive election coverage.
top-notch presenters and well-versed analysts.
Dedicated reporters and correspondents in every nook and cranny across the country.
All the action, every incident reported. All the big stories covered.
All facts cross-checked. Every figure verified.
Every vote monitored and accounted for.
The numbers tallied, analyzed, and interpreted.
We have invested time and energy in order to bring you a comprehensive elections coverage.
The whole world will be watching us on TV, online, and radio.
Election Command Center. Facts, analysis, results.
Hello, good evening, and welcome to the business segment on Hot Edition. Coming up tonight, non-performing loans ratio rises sharply to 22.8% in September 2024, calling for immediate action by stakeholders. My name is Menu Afo. We have details of this and more lined up for you. Please stay. Let's get straight to it. The Bank of Ghana has expressed concern over a sharp increase in non-performing loans, urging for enhanced enforcement of the Borrowers and Lenders Act 2020 Act 1052 to support financial stability in the banking sector. Second Deputy Governor LC Ado-Awaji has reviewed a sharp rise in the ratio of non-performing loans from 18% recorded in September 2023 to 22.8% in September this year.
Anecdotal evidence from the banking industry suggests that there are continued significant challenges with loan recoveries, in spite of lenders obtaining these memoranda of no objections. More recently, the banking industry's non-performing loan ratio, which is the ratio of loans that are not performing compared to overall loans that have been provided by the banking sector, increased from 18% in September 2023 to 22.8% at the end of September 2024. So this is just 1 year, the migration in 1 year of the NPL ratio. And I must add that this has resulted in banks having to write off some 163.5 million CDs in bad loans. This has happened by the end of September 2004, just compared to September 2003.
You heard Second Deputy Governor of the Central Bank, LC Ado-Awaji, there. Meanwhile, Chief Justice Gertrude Tokono is making a strong case for a review of interest charged on loans requested by small and medium-sized enterprises. She stresses that interest charged on SME loans make it almost impossible for the borrowers to repay.
If you recall, I recently launched small claims courts. The debts involved were tiny, 5,000 cedis, 2,000 Ghana cedis. Now, I found in some of the companies that needed the support of these courts, the interest rate stated therein was, within the agreement, was 8% compounded. Now, who wants a loan of 2,000 Ghana cedis? This person must be a banana seller, a vulnerable person within our community. When you put in these provisions, where does it end? I'm showing you the humanity of judges. We may not look very much like that, but we think like that.
That was Chief Justice Gertrude Tokono calling for review of interest charged on loans for SMEs. Away from that, Chief Executive of Petroleum Commission, Egbert Faibel Jr., has announced plans to reform Ghana's carriage participating interest, currently set at 15%. Speaking at the Africa Oil Week 2025 launch, he emphasized that the current rate discourages investors from entering the petroleum sector as it exceeds rates in all other oil-rich countries. To address this, the Petroleum Commission and Ghana Investment Promotion Corporation are collaborating on reforms that will reduce the rate to make Ghana competitive.
When an investor brings their money, GMPC will have to be carried at 15% through exploration right through to production. So if you bring $1, the investor will know that 15% of that $1 will never be gotten back. So when you look around, Cote d'Ivoire, Namibia, Angola, Nigeria, Guyana, and all the rest, if you do the analysis, they are hovering around carried participating interest of 10%. So if you go to the market with these competitors, if you're an investor, where will you want to go? So the Petroleum Commission, GNPC, and the Ministry of Energy have been very hard at work trying to come up with various permutations to engender and promote reform in our legislative or regulatory or fiscal regime framework to ensure that we become competitive as our neighbors, we become competitive as everyone else who is looking for investments.
Chief Executive of Petroleum Commission, Egbert Faibil Jr. there. That will be all for Business News on Hot Edition. For more business stories, please check out our website. It's www.3news.com. Please stay tuned. My name is Minu Afo, and Bill Ishen is on standby with the sports news.
Hello there, good evening and welcome to the sports segment here on the 3FM Hot Edition. My name is Billy Shed. We're starting off from the Black Stars, who are currently on their way to Luanda from Ghana. They had a light training session earlier today and they are currently on the plane on their way to Luanda ahead of their game against Angola, which will take place on Friday, November 15th. But ahead of that, a lot of fans and a lot of stakeholders of Ghana football have questioned the Black Stars with regards to performance. They believe that most of the Black Stars players perform very well for their clubs, but not for the country itself. And here is an answer from Gideon Mensah.
I think this question is, even if we were performing very, very good in the national team, we're still not going to be like the performance in our club, because obviously, like, you're playing a club where you've been training for like the whole season together, and then every day, and then you come to the national team and then you have like 3 days, 4 days to train, and you have a game, and then obviously, like you said, it's not always going to be the performance but I know that every player here in the national team is ready to fight for the country and then ready to fight for the shirt. We may not always get it how we want it to go in the game, but I promise you that we are always working to get what the results that Ghanaians want from us.
That was Gideon Mensah there talking about the performance levels at the club level as compared to the Black Stars level. But of course, it's basically 1% chance, 99% fate for the Black Stars as they take on Angola in Luanda on Friday. And here's Oreku giving us the permutations with regards to the Black Stars qualification chances for AFCON 2025.
Because, let's talk about the permutations. The last time we failed to qualify for the AFCON was 2004, so 20 years ago. If you're looking at the possibility of not going for the AFCON now, it's really heavy. We are 5 points behind Sudan, 2 games left. Per CAF regulations, it's head-to-head. So Sudan just need a draw and they'll have a better head-to-head than Ghana because they beat us 2-0 and then we drew with them 0-0. And so Ghana has to hope that Sudan loses against Niger. Interestingly, Sudan faced Niger a day before Ghana faced Angola on Thursday. And so on Thursday, if Sudan draw against Niger or beat Niger, the Black Stars won't qualify for the AFCON. And so technically, there's no point in even playing the 2 games.
Yes.
It can make or break the rest of the international break. But I think, we really dug our own grave. The AFCON used to be 16 teams. It's moved to 24 teams now.
And Black Stars can't.
And if you cannot qualify, then I don't know what anybody can do for you at all.
Yeah, that was a real cool answer for giving the permutations of Ghana's chances to qualify for AFCON 2025. Remember that Sudan will be playing Niger on Thursday, just 24 hours before Ghana versus Angola. And Ghana's fate might be sealed by Thursday when Sudan take on Niger. If Sudan wins or draws against Niger, Ghana are officially out of AFCON 2025. And so a lot of prayers for the Black Stars, especially tomorrow when Sudan take on Niger. But let's move on to Europe. Now, Arsenal's away kit was designed by a Sierra Leone fashion designer, and his name is Fode Doumbia. Now, Ore Kwampo, who is my colleague, interviewed him and came out with this report. Born in Freetown, Sierra Leone, Fode Doumbia is a... All right, we'll give you further details of that on News 360 on TV3. My name is Billy Shen, bringing an end to the sports segment here on the 3FM Hot Edition. We have Alfred and the rest of the team with a lot more.
Imagine a place where voices matter, where every corner, every street, every community is a platform.
A big bus moving through Accra, carrying conversations, questions, and the pulse of the nation. This is not just another show, it's your voice on the move.
Join us as 3FM Sunrise hits the road, turning ordinary streets into platforms for extraordinary dialogue. Speak freely, listen deeply, and help shape the conversation that drives Ghana forward.
Look out for the bus and tune in exclusively on 3FM 92.7, your urban lifestyle radio.
The most comprehensive election coverage.
Top-notch presenters and well-versed analysts.
Dedicated reporters and correspondents in every nook and cranny across the country.
All the action, every incident reported. All the big stories covered.
All facts cross-checked. Every figure verified.
Every vote monitored and accounted for.
The numbers tallied, analyzed, and interpreted.
We have invested time and energy in order to bring you a comprehensive elections coverage.
The whole world will be watching us on TV, online, and radio.
Election Command Center. Facts, analysis, results.
The most comprehensive election coverage.
Top-notch presenters and well-versed analysts.
Dedicated reporters and correspondents in every nook and cranny across the country.
All the action, every incident reported. All the big stories covered.
All facts cross-checked. Every figure verified.
Every vote monitored and accounted for.
The numbers tallied, analyzed, and interpreted.
We have invested time and energy in order to bring you a comprehensive elections coverage.
The whole world will be watching us on TV, online, and radio.
Election Command Center. Facts, analysis, results.
Imagine a place where voices matter, where every corner, every street, every community is a platform.
A big bus moving through Accra, carrying conversations, questions, and the pulse of the nation. This is not just another show, it's your voice on the move.
Join us as 3FM Sunrise hits the road, turning ordinary streets into platforms for extraordinary dialogue. Speak freely, listen deeply, and help shape the conversation that drives Ghana forward.
Look out for the bus and tune in exclusively on 3FM 92.7, your urban lifestyle radio.
Early every weekday because of you, to keep you on top of your game. Yeah.
You are at the center of our universe. That's why we make it a duty to serve you only the freshest, hottest news and entertainment. When you want it, where you want it.
Good morning, Ghana, Africa, and the rest of the wonderful world. Welcome to Sunrise on 3FM 92.7. Start your day well informed. Start with us on Sunrise on 3FM 92.7. Catch the all-new Sunrise Morning Show on 3FM 92.7 with me, Johnny Hughes, Helen Apiampofo. Weekdays from 5:55 a.m. to 10 a.m. only on 3FM 92.7.
3FM, your urban lifestyle radio.
Gauging the mood, exactly what we are seeing here, as far as especially the two major political parties are concerned. Boot for boot, I will call it, because I've been following politics for some time now, and never have I seen that level of seriousness attached to this particular election. I mean, by the two major political parties. They have changed their style, so we're not seeing that level of rallies or flamboyant rallies, and that is not what you're seeing, but you're seeing more or less like a community engagement. So from one community to the other, as far as the constituency executives of both parties are concerned, then at the highest level, where we see the flag bearers also engaging the voters, it is from one constituency to the other. And that's exactly what we are seeing here. Now, we haven't seen anything like a clash, even though the region is politically divided, as in the various interests have taken certain areas. For instance, the national chairman of the opposition National Democratic Congress, Johnson Sidun Ketia, today targeted Obuasi West East, Akrofi, New Wadubiase, and Formina constituencies. Dr. Mahmoud Baumia was also targeting a drug constituency, of course, in Suta Kwama Biposo and then Mampong constituency. Tomorrow, he's looking at Kwadaso, Achema Kwahoma, and then the rest. So that is how the campaign is looking like. For John Dramani Mahama, as of yesterday, he was in the Bono East region. I understand that he's also expected to join the campaign trail, where he will also be targeting certain constituencies. So within the next couple of weeks, we are going to see some intensity as far as campaign or canvassing for votes in the region, or of course in the Ashanti region is concerned. And then we will see how they are also going to fare. I'm talking about the various political parties come December 7th.
And you've been engaging, William, a number of the constituents there. Is there a real threat that Alan Chimanting and also Nana Kwame Bediako pose to the as it were, the expected 85% votes of the NPP? Because there are many who have indicated, including Global Info Analytics, that these two are going to chop off some of the NPP's votes in the Ashanti region.
Well, for the optics, Alan appears to be gathering some level of momentum, but not on a large scale, or let me put it this way, some way, somehow insignificant. For Chada, who was moving the youth behind him, he seems to have diffused. He seems to have we are not seeing that vibe as far as this campaign in the Ashanti region is concerned, because I'm not seeing more of him. I'm not feeling more of him, unlike before. Like I said, Alan is gathering momentum, but not too significant. Now it is becoming a duopoly, as we've seen over the years. MPP and NDC still dominating the political space. They are visible every corner that you happen to find yourself. So, for instance, I am somewhere in the Kwadaso constituency. I'm just around the St. Flag, and on my way here, I saw a van carrying speakers, of NDC or chanting NDC songs and slogans. I also sighted another van also carrying speakers, chanting and also, singing MPP songs and slogans. So, they are visible. The two major political parties are visible here, unlike the others. Intermittently, you also see Alan Kojo Chematin van also moving around. So, these are the political parties who are so far, or who are kind of giving some level of political exposition as far as their interest in December 7th is concerned, Alfred.
William, do appreciate you as always. Thank you so much. William Evans Income is our Northern Bureau Chief and crisscrossing the Ashanti region for on behalf of your Election Command Center. Stay with us as we build up strongly here across all media journal platforms. And still on the matter of election, Director of Training, the Electoral Commission, Dr. Sarfoa says Ghanaians should be ready for a lot of disinformation going into the December 7 polls. He further warned against disinformation from both traditional media houses and social media, as it has the tendency to create fear and panic. He was speaking at the media dialogue organized by Pen Plus by its International Media Support and Research ICT Africa at an event here in Accra.
The issue for 2024 is misinformation, because both the traditional and the social media at times are hurry to put forward information without checking the authentication of it. So I'm saying that I am seeing ahead of us where people were coming out with some audios or videos that may even not be related to Ghana's election. Because I had instances where there was a video and they attributed to the district level election. I don't know whether it was that. And the person was in green jacket. When everybody knew that in Ghana we don't use green jacket. So my advice to the media houses here is that they need to be very careful and cross-check every information they will get. Other than that, they may be misled and also don't be afraid of disinforming and misinforming people. Because you wouldn't be surprised that somebody may be churning out his results from somewhere. The person who realizes that the person is losing wouldn't mind sponsoring people to show videos and the rest about how elections were being rigged, how elections are being, untoward issues are being done.
As Dr. Sarfoa, the meanwhile, project coordinator at Pemplas by Stephen Ofosu says efforts are underway to form a coalition of CSOs to combat disinformation and misinformation and ensure that the government would factor that in future policy formulation.
Right now, we live in a society where information is always coming out. It's fast changing, right? And if you can take the Twitter, for example, sometimes you come across a certain issue and you find it difficult to confirm whether it's true or false, right? And we believe this will have a major impact in the upcoming election, the 2024 December 7th. So this coalition is going to be one of the events that we will meet with stakeholders who are well vested in this field to discuss strategies and ways where we can together combat disinformation and misinformation during the election period, so that every information we will get about the electoral process will be legit.
That's project coordinator Pemplas by Stephen Ofosu there. Spanish and Ghanaian experts under the initiative of Casa Africa have trained some journalists across Ghana on information verification and combating election disinformation. The program was organized in collaboration with the Ghana Journalists Association in view of the pending information, the threats of misinformation. Both traditional and social media sources can provide. Spanish ambassador to Ghana, Angel Losado Torres Quevedo, said freedom of speech and the citizens' right to information is essential.
We would try to foster a good relation between the embassy and the Ghanaian institutions, the press, the Ghanaian press and media, in a common work, in a common effort to make sure that freedom of speech and freedom in general is essential for everybody. So freedom of speech is essential, and attacks on freedom of speech are wrong. And they are dangerous for the freedom of the citizens. It's not just the speech, it's the citizens, because you cannot take good political decisions, good decisions in general, without a free press, a free information, a flow of information that it's plural and that it's free.
Deemed a swing constituency in Greater Accra, was created under former President John Agyekum Kufuor's regime in 2004, following the splitting of the old Ashaman constituency. The constituency shares boundaries with Ashaman, Bonkatamanso, La Madina in Kwantanan, and Tema Metropolis. The cosmopolitan area hosts people of different classes with several developmental needs. The presence of bad intercommunal roads, potable water, high cost of living, and soaring unemployment rates among the youth have been tipped to be the major deciding factors for the constituent's choice for a representative in the legislature in the December 7 elections. But before this year's general elections, the constituency has produced 5 parliamentarians since 2004. The late Kwadwo Pariado was first to be elected on the ticket of the New Patriotic Party in 2004, but his quest for a second term in office was unsuccessful as he was unseated by the NDC's Kojo Edu Asari, who served between 2008 and 2012. The NDC's Emmanuel Ni Ashimo took the baton from his predecessor.
Just about election, our living conditions will inform our votes. My vote in this year's election will be informed by the developmental projects in the constituency. I am resolute in my decision and I won't change my mind.
It is clear that the December 7, 2024 elections will produce a 6th parliamentarian for the Adentan constituency. But the decision whether to retain the incumbent or opt for a change lies solely with the constituents. Stanley Nibleu, 3FM.
Stanley Nibleu there. That brings us to the end of Campaign Trail here on the Election Command Center. Join me at 10 p.m. on TV3. It's also going to be live on 3FM 92.7 for Ghana Tonight. On behalf of the rest of the team here, thank you. I am Alfred Ocansey. Have a great evening. The drive continues.